It's truly an honor to be here. For me, especially because I get to talk to you guys about one of my most favorite subjects in the world, which is social TV. Total transparency, I actually joined Twitter via the acquisition of Bluefin Labs, so I've been studying Twitter and TV for many, many years. And to have joined the Twitter team and to now get to chat with you guys about all the great things we've been learning this past year is really an honor for me. One of the first things I want to do, though, is just share with you from people themselves, what is social TV? I figured it'd be more fun than watching me describe it, so I would ask to play the video very quickly.
The advent of my iPad and Twitter has made watching shows like American Idol and The Voice better. I mean, and it really does. Like, we all vote. Like, we can vote 10 times, and I feel like that's why I'm on Twitter, because I'm participating in the conversation.
That actually was the top hashtag on Twitter. Because I went on Twitter, I went on Twitter to like tweet about watching it, and then I saw the hashtag, and I was like, oh my God, there's like 1 million women around the US who are also watching this, and what are they thinking about this?
After I figured out that you can follow all the people that get on, I've been doing that just because it's interesting. And it's like fun to watch it happen on TV and watch it happen on Twitter at the same time.
I had already gone to bed, and I saw, I think on Twitter, when Jennifer Lawrence tripped going up at the very end of the Oscars, and so I got out of bed, turned it back on, and found that part so I could watch her trip before I went to sleep, because I saw that on Twitter. TV directs me through a hashtag to what to look for on Twitter.
I would have been watching it on DVR, except everybody wanted to see it live because it was the last episode, and nobody wanted to have the end, revealed to them before, because on Twitter you had to watch it live.
Thank you. And so from the very first day when I joined Twitter, what I realized is that there are so many unanswered questions about what the actual impact of Twitter TV truly is. I remember coming in the door, and all these questions were being asked literally they were waiting in my inbox when I arrived. And I thought to myself, okay, it's time that we actually start to answer these questions and see what we can learn about the true impact. I think we all can agree that there is such a thing as social TV, and now it's time to figure out what it means for us as marketers and as networks. So behind me you see on the screen 5 very, very big research questions. We were quite ambitious in what we were hoping to learn. First and foremost, of course, we started with kind of the silver bullet, which is, can we actually figure out if there's an ROI impact when these two channels are running concurrently and in support of the same message? And then what you see below are sort of all of the supporting questions that we asked to try and uncover the whys behind it. So I'm happy to take you guys through some of the results that we uncovered. What we did to actually arrive at the results is we cast a wide net from a research perspective. So I think you guys will all appreciate different methodologies have their pros and cons, and we wanted to make sure that we were using the best methodology to answer each question. So we actually ran marketing mix modeling, we did passive measurement, we did survey-based measurement, and we even had some in-house proprietary methodology that we applied to study hashtags, as well as, of course, the qualitative focus group work that you saw in the video that we shared earlier. So really took a lot of different approaches to start answering these questions. The first result, and this one was really interesting for us because we weren't 100% sure we were actually going to get a readout through media mix modeling, but luckily for us, because we wanted to do this in a really sort of strategic way, we ran 3 different models in 2 different markets across 3 different industry verticals, and we discovered something very interesting, which was that they all confirmed each other's results. And that result is that when you're actually running Twitter media concurrently with your television media, you do see a lift in sales effectiveness from your TV dollars. So we thought that was a really interesting result that for the first time really helps us understand that there is a synergistic effect between the 2 channels. But we didn't stop there, because it's not enough just to know that there is an ROI impact. We have to understand why, so that we can start to get smart about how to actually use this information in our day-to-day lives. So we ran some passive viewer measurement, where we partnered with a company called Symphony AM. They actually have an app that sits on your mobile phone and kind of just passively measures both what's happening on your phone as well as what you're listening to or watching. And what we learned is that actually folks who are not multitasking, meaning they're not mobile tasking, had the highest tune-away rates, in fact, and the tune-away was measured across an ad pod. So the question was, were you still tuned in on the other side of an actual ad pod? 17% for the TV-only viewers, 13% for the folks who were mobile multitasking, but 8% for those who were mobile multitasking with Twitter. So this was the first time we really started to discover that there was a behavioral impact other than just the usage of Twitter, a behavioral impact in terms of ad effectiveness. The next result, and this comes from a lot of the survey-based work that we did, is we wanted to understand, okay, so we know there's more opportunities to see, to use our marketing research lingo, right? We know people are still tuned in, but are they completely distracted? Are they doing something else that's taking their attention away completely from the television and from the ads that are running? And what we learned is that, in fact, no. And this one, honestly, even having run some of this myself, I didn't expect to see numbers that were quite this high, but all the way from ad recall to brand favorability and purchase intent, it really began to become clear that the folks who were using the two channels together were, in fact, they were more receptive to the advertising, demonstrating greater lifts in the metrics that we care about. We also studied the flip of this, though. So as cool as it is to know that Twitter makes your TV ads work harder, we also wanted to know, does TV help Twitter in any way? Is there something that we can learn from this internally as well? And what we learned is that, in fact, the same result holds true. So no matter which way you look at it, when the two impressions are given on multiple screens with close proximity, that frequency, that helps boost all of the metrics, in this case, message association and purchase intent on the Twitter side as well. I'm moving right along here, but I will be available later if you guys have any questions. The last piece of discovery that we wanted to do, and this one was a little bit more of an experiment, and we still have more work to do on this one, is to learn if actually placing your ads in highly social programs also has an impact. So this was sort of the third building block of uncovering why we see that ROI lift from the MMM results. And in fact, we did find that there is a directional lift of 7%. So when you're placing your ads in those highly social shows, there is an effect on your TV ROI by virtue of that. As I mentioned, more work to be done here. We really want to kind of tear this one apart and dig into it. So hopefully you guys will have more to share with you on that coming soon. And then this last bit of research is kind of was a little bit of icing on the cake for us, because since all the other results were coming back and they were almost a little too good to be true, we also wanted to understand, okay, well, what can you do to make the two channels work better together? So in terms of now executing on TV and on Twitter, are there things we should be doing a little bit differently? And the first thing we learned is that, in fact, hashtags do drive increased volumes of earned media on the platform. So this was a particularly interesting experiment for me. My team may not think so, because we actually had them watch 500 discrete ads in the consumer electronics sector, as well as 500 ads in the QSR sector, and I'm pretty sure they've all been off of burgers for the last 6 months because they couldn't see another burger after watching 500 ads. But we saw a 42% lift in direct response from the consumer electronics category and 16% from QSR. But we know that volume isn't everything. So it's great that there's more volume, but is the quality of this conversation actually meaningful? So we did a blinded test. We blinded thousands and thousands of responses to the ads, and we coded them for whether they were on or off brand. And in fact, we found that when you add the hashtag, not only are you cueing people that there's a conversation happening that they can get involved with, but actually the nature of that conversation, and it tends to stay more on message. So we thought that was pretty interesting as well. So just to kind of wrap up in summary, I think what has been a really interesting year for me at Twitter is to be able to say, yes, we've been able to tackle all of these questions and kind of answer the burning questions that folks have. We still have a lot to do to get to the how and sort of uncover now, what does this mean? How do we change our day-to-day? But certainly it's good to know that there is evidence now, factual information that helps us link the two together. So with that, I will say thank you and see you outside. Thanks.